Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin and today we are doing the Eyeshadow Palette Tag 5000. So I originally saw Angelica Nyqvist do this video and the tag is by Cheek Geek. And then I watched Heather Austin do this and there are a few additional questions from her friend Kelly. I'm gonna link both Angie and Heather's videos since those are the ones that I watch. And then there's links also to the creators in that if you want to watch those as well. But yeah, we're talking eyeshadow palettes, my favorite thing in makeup, and we're gonna get into it. Before we do get into the questions, if you haven't already, please consider clicking that subscribe button. I upload videos twice a week. It's totally free to subscribe, and I would love to have you back again on the channel for more lovely eyeshadow content, much of which is going to be indie brands. So if that sounds good, let's get into the video. All right, so the original tag by Cheek Geek has 10 questions here and we're not gonna waste any time. The first one is an eyeshadow palette that is a special occasion eyeshadow palette. Now you might be surprised, okay? This is really like could be an everyday palette, but it's a special occasion one to me because I did use it for a special occasion. This is probably my favorite free gift from Ulta I've ever gotten as a member. That's why it says happy birthday on it, because it was a free birthday palette. It is a NYX eyeshadow palette and it's kind of fall, leaning neutral. You can see it's well loved. Hit pan on a few shades there. And I wore this eyeshadow palette in my brother and sister-in-law's wedding, so to me that's why it's a special occasion palette. And it does have enough like neutrals to have like a soft glam look, which is kind of what I did for it. You definitely can't get this eyeshadow palette, so sorry to be starting off that way, but I just had to be true to the tag. Next up, an eyeshadow palette that is repetitive. Now I'm picking the Honey ColourPop palette, but you might be able to say really any of their like 9-pan monochromatics, right? Yes, there are different shades, but a lot of them look the same on the eye, right? It's repetitive. You're gonna get a similar looking look probably no matter what. Now, I'm not saying that as like a negative in this case, right? Because I think when you buy this, you know what you're getting, right? You know they're kind of repetitive. That's the point of a monochromatic palette, at least in my mind. But I don't have too many that are repetitive, so for me, that just made sense to pick for this one. A palette I got my money's worth on. Okay, so this was the first palette I ever got from Huda Beauty, and it's pricey. Her palettes are like, I think $67, $69, something like that, and I don't know, I might have gotten like 30% or something like that on this one, but it was still a lot of money. But it is a beautiful formula. I really still like this one. It holds up. It's still available. You might be able to get it for cheaper now. But I like that this might be one of the more colorful ones, right? Of the bigger ones. Because Rose Quartz, Empowered, and Naughty Palette, I feel like are all more neutral or berry than this one. This has a little neutral pinky moment, but it's got those greens and purples that I really like. And I do feel like quality-wise, I've gotten my money's worth out of this one. I don't think you can see in this one quite as much as the next one, like the dents I have in the pans, but I have used this quite a bit and I really do think it's like worth the money, and I feel like I've gotten my money's worth out of this one. Palette that's an amazing deal. Okay, I can't find these palettes, so I'm gonna have to put in a little insert screenshot, but the NYX Swear By It and something Utopian, Ultimate Utopian palette, something like that. Those are very affordable, like per shade. I think they're like 40 bucks for 35 shades or something like that, and NYX is on sale a lot at Ulta too. Use your Ulta points, y'all. But they're really nice quality shadows. I do like NYX eyeshadows a lot, and I just think those are an amazing deal for the quality you get, and I think they're nice color stories, and the way they're laid out makes it easy to make looks even though it is a big palette in my opinion. So I'll leave linked, I know I've got videos I've got a video for the Swear By It palette, but any of the videos I'm mentioning in this tag video, if I've got other videos like actually using them, if you want to see them more in action, I'll make sure I leave them linked in the cards or the description if I run out of room so that you can see them more in action instead of me just like holding them up and talking about them. But moving on to the next one, it's a quad you love but wish was larger. And it's this one by ColourPop. It is the La Belle of the Ball collab they did with Animal Crossing. And purple and green are just my two favorite eyeshadow colors, I think, is like a big part of it. But also this is just so cool with like the like blue purple duochrome. Hopefully you can see like the flip it's got there. And while it does have a pressed glitter, like I use it for highlighter and it looks really nice and it's pretty fine. It's not too gritty, but I would love to see this fleshed out into a bigger palette, maybe with like some grays or like smokiness to it. Make it a little more like a cool toned palette, which honestly, when I think about it, the All Amethyst palette kind of is a 9-pan, like more fleshed out version of this, but still, that's the one that came to mind quad-wise when I was like, ooh, if something could be bigger, it'd be this one for me. Okay, an eyeshadow palette, you love the eyeshadow, like the inside portion, but you hate the packaging. I used to love this packaging, guys. It's this one. It's the Glamlight X Michaela Original. I used to love this because of this whole, whoop. Maybe you'll see why I hate it now. I'm not going to move it too much. So you can move this stuff on the inside out, but it's spilling out. There's like a hole in the glue, like in the seal somewhere, and it makes a mess every time I use it. I haven't even used it that much lately because there's just loose glitter, like craft glitter everywhere every time I use that palette. And I'm worried it's going to get like in the eyeshadow when I'm using it. I'm covered in glitter. Great. It's fine, but that's one that I really do like, the eyeshadow, but the packaging just didn't last, and I'm scared that my pot 2 is gonna do that as well. It's been fine so far. Has anybody else's palette done that and the glitter's like getting everywhere? Because it's just a mess. So for that reason, I picked that for that prompt. Easy, no-brainer. All right, the next one is interesting. It says, show your dream palette with singles. Now, I do have a lot of singles, but I don't necessarily have singles that I feel like I can put together to make what I would think of as my dream palette. But I will say for this prompt, one thing I haven't found from any brand that I would love as a single, and if you know a brand that does this, please let me know, is a shimmer or like a metallic, probably like a shimmer that's like textured. It's got a yellow base to it and it's got purple reflect. So the one I'm wearing now, I don't know if you can see, but it's a yellow base and it's got a pink reflect in it. I've seen pink, I've seen blue, and I've seen green paired with a yellow, but I've never found a purple reflect with a yellow base. That's what I have, like in my dream palette, that would be in there. So I'll just say that for this prompt. Palettes I like to combine. Now I didn't know if this meant combine with each other or just like as companion palettes, so I kind of answered it as companion palettes and not with each other. Sugar Drizzle has some amazing all shimmer palettes. One of my favorite, maybe actually my favorite from the entire brand, is the Pizza Kitty. I mean, look at it. Look at it. It's so like tacky and ugly that it's cute, in my opinion. And these are just great, amazing quality shimmers. You probably see some dips and divots. I've gotten some of these, but I'll use just like a bronzer or some mattes from another palette and put this on there. Space Meow is one of my favorites. I also really like Moon Man up here, but it's a Sugar Drizzle has a wonderful shimmer formula. So I like to combine that palette with other palettes. And then also from Sugar Drizzle, I got this after liking this one so much, the original Sugar Drizzle palette. I think that's just what it's called, the original. But it's also got just like more of the same kind of formula of just different shades, colors. I think Sugar Bubbles is notable in this one. I like that one a lot. And even like Sugar Mama, this bright pink, I've looked at that and used it like in conjunction in pairing. I don't know what I'm saying, but for Barbie looks, you know, with other stuff, that one's fun too. So that is a really, really fun textured formula. When I say textured, it's like, I want to say it's not like smooth, but that makes it sound bad. It's just like a toppery, not like pressed flakies though. Like you can smooth it out, but it's just got more dimension to it and reflect to it. But I love these so much and I love to pair them with other palettes. A large palette I wish were smaller. Oh boy, here it is. Anybody remember this one from Glamlight? Now I've considered getting rid of this outer packaging just because it's so big and hard to store. But honestly, I kind of like it for this reason, videos like this when I show it off. This is the Glamlight Ice Cream palette. Now, if you haven't seen this, it's been out for years, but inside it is the actual palette. This is like, see, it'd be like if these sprinkles got loose. That's what the Michaela one does. And they're both from Glamlight, but it's a cool concept if they could just make sure it doesn't come out, right? So this is one I wish was smaller, right? And part of it is just because like it's an ice cream palette, and I feel like there's just a few like neutrals that there's some browns and neutrals that you could take out of here and some golds. Like, I guess I get why they're there to pair with other brighter colors, but it's the ice cream palette. Like, isn't that kind of what you want, is the brighter colors? And I do think maybe I could have used this as the repetitive. Some of these like pinks and things are a bit similar. Like shades here, they're pretty similar on the eye. And honestly, in my opinion, this matte formula, like these pastels, they're super chalky and they just wash away. Like, they don't really show up on my eyelid unless I specifically use some kind of white base for them to show up on. So I wish this one was just a little smaller and more curated into specific ice cream colors, and maybe the ones, like some shades have really, really good quality formula and some aren't, so smaller and just keep the good quality formula ones in this one. All right, next is an eyeshadow palette I wish had a matching face palette. So this is the palette I'm wearing today, and this is the Nomad Tokyo palette. So of course it's an eyeshadow palette and that's what I'm wearing, but I wish it had a matching face palette because I think they really could take this like kawaii theme and easily branch it into like blushes and highlighters. In fact, I've used some of these. I'll leave a link to my most recent palette bingo from Nomad. I used this Gairu as a blush, and I've used Kawaii, this orange one, as a blush before. And I think I've used even Lolita over here as a blush before. And I've definitely used, not all of these because some of them have too dark of a base, but I have used Moshi Moshi, this green one, and Otaku, this one. I've used these two. They have a sheer enough base. They're more like topper shades. I've used them as highlighters before on my face. I should have done that today, but I'm wearing Zaku Zaku on most of the lid, and I'm wearing Moshi Moshi on the inner corner here. But I just think this one would have been so fun to have like a little kawaii themed face palette on the side and have some of those more like pastel colors, because I feel like you either see neutral or really bright punchy blushes in a face palette, but I don't see that often like a pastel blush face palette. I feel like there's an opportunity there. Okay, so there are just a few questions left, 3 more, and these were the ones that were added by Heather's friend Kelly, not in the original tag, but I just really like them and I wanted to keep going. So the first one of this set is an OG YouTube palette that you still have, and I just had to. I just used this the other day, guys, like 2-3 days ago too, and the quality, it's still there. Like, I think these mattes really are pretty creamy. Like, I know people rag on Morphe, but I don't really have issues with it. The shimmers aren't as impressive as my indie brand ones. Like, I would take the Sugar Drizzle ones I showed you any day over these shimmers, but there's nothing wrong with these shimmers, right? They're a nice, smooth, like everyday, fine formula. There's nothing wrong with it. But I still have this one, and it's not just for nostalgia. I still use it and think, I understand why it was such a hit when it came out. The next one is a palette that has survived a declutter slash palette makeup regret. Now, I really don't declutter palettes. Like, if I spent my money on it, I buy it and kind of make myself use it. There's a few things that they weren't bad quality, but they just were like, okay, this is like too neutral for me, or kind of I got bored of after a while, that I passed on to my mom. So maybe you could call that a declutter, but it's like 3 or 4 palettes. So I can't really speak too much for that, but I can speak to the makeup regret, like a palette that was like, oh, I really didn't need this. It wasn't like that great. And it's this one. It's by Makeup Revolution. It's their I Heart Revolution line. Can you see why I got it though? That's cool, right? The packaging gets me sometimes, it does, guys. It really, really suckers me in. This is the Fortune Seeker palette. I think I paid probably $5.99 for this, so you get what you pay for. It's definitely worth the price I paid. But here it is. It's just kind of like a normal mauve-y / neutral palette. It's not anything that's like special quality wise. In fact, I would call it a bit dusty. You know, I always see people comment and joke about like, oh boy, another dusty mauve palette. This is a dusty mauve palette. And some people like that, and it's fine, but I really didn't need it. The quality isn't anything that I ever choose to reach for. I can't tell you the last time I used this. It's one I really like could declutter if I knew somebody that it would go to for a good home, but yeah, it's a regret, but I have it. And so sometimes I just do this to feel like it's worth my $6. And finally, a palette that deserves more love. And this is one I love so much. I really didn't think I would. It is the Kaleidos Club Nebula. I know, limited edition, but I haven't used it in a while, and I really should use it more because it's excellent quality. I'm going to keep my plastic sheet over this because I have not one but 2 shades now that have either like cracked or dried out or whatever, that I don't want them to fall off their pants. It's the shimmers like Firefly. You can probably see how busted it is. But there it is if you need a refresher or reminder of what that palette looks like. And I simply have never created a look with this palette that I didn't like. Never. I've loved it every single time, and I really should use it more often. Especially because like I showed you, it looks like some of the shimmers are starting to get a little dry. Like I don't want it to just sit there and not be used until it is unusable when I love it so much. So that one really does needs more love in my collection. So yeah guys, that is all of the Eyeshadow Palette 5000 tag. Let me know if there's any palettes that I showed you today that I haven't really filmed with, or even if I have, if you want to see more looks with them, whether it's a palette bingo or just, you know, revisiting old palettes. I know none of these are new releases, but that's not really the point of the tag, you know? And that's kind of why I like tags, to revisit old things in my collection. Hopefully it reminded you of something that you have in your collection that you really like. Feel free to comment down below your answers to one or all of these questions. Looking forward to reading your comments and responding, and I hope to see you again on the next one. Bye!